What is an unexplainable memory from your childhood? I have this memory of sleeping in an office block in South London with my mum on an airbed. I recall looking out of the window and feeling sad. Years later I was driving and got a very strong impulse to stop outside this building, and I was 100% certain it was that one. Every time I went past it felt odd. My mum says it didn't happen. Everyone else concurs. My best conclusion at this stage is that I probably had a very vivid dream that became conflated with something else. Not particularly interesting, but something I've always wondered about. As a kid it was only my mum, and sometimes she'd leave me home alone while she was at work, for instance during school holidays and some weekends. I was about 7 and the first few times I was terrified. Completely convinced a serial killer would break in. So I'd take enough food from the kitchen, then lock myself in my bedroom all day. Wouldn't drink too much water to avoid using the bathroom. When I watched television I set it to the lowest volume possible and sat right up close to listen, and I wouldn't turn on any lights when it got dark. Just squinted at my books near the window. That way burglars wouldn't know I was home. I played hiding games with myself sometimes, like can I fit into this hamper so that burglars won't find me if they break in. After a year of nothing happening my nerves settled, though I was still locking the bedroom door after me. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was in my bedroom when I heard a door slam in the living room during the daytime. I froze. There was rustling, and I could hear heavy footsteps back and forth. I remained totally still. Whenever it went quiet, I thought maybe it would be okay to get up, and then noises would start again. I heard things moved around, maybe shuffling. The movements were purposeful, in a hurry. I don't remember how long it was until they stopped long enough that I thought they left. I don't recall whether I heard the door slam shut again. Honestly, I think I just got sick of sitting complete still in one position. The sun was setting, and I crept out to look around. The place was maybe messier, but our shithole apartment was always in disarray, so I couldn't really tell. For some reason I thought I'd get in trouble if anything was missing, so I started tidying up. My mom came home later, and I didn't say a word. It was probably just my mom coming back for something, or a neighbor, or at most, an opportunistic thief who didn't find anything worth stealing. But I did always wonder what happened that day. When I was about 4 or 5, I was in the foyer by my front door when I saw my father come in the house, put down his briefcase, and then walk to my mother to give her a kiss on the cheek. Then the front door opened again. It was my father, again. I looked next to me where I had seen him put his briefcase. It was gone. I looked back at him, scared, and said, "You just did that." I have never hallucinated in the more than 25 years since this happened, and nothing like it has ever happened since. I welcome theories or explanations. Thanks. I'm like 95% sure I sort of got hit by a car when crossing the street with my mom. There was a red light and we didn't cross at a crosswalk. A car inched forward, and I remember falling onto the hood. But I was fine. I used to literally get flashbacks for years. But my mom swears it never happened. I think she's lying. I could lucid dream when I was a kid. I would actually get really excited to go to bed because I could decide what to dream and then dream it. I had a reoccurring character in my lucid dreaming. He was a boy my age with blonde hair. We would always play in this backyard/playground type setting that has a big brick wall on the edge. One night I dreamt that we really wanted to find out what was on the other side of that wall. So we climbed a tree and the boy climbed onto the wall, looked back at me and waved, and went over it. I never lucid dreamed again after that. It actually caused me a lot of distress as a kid. I legit missed him terribly and tried so hard to lucid dream, but just couldn't do it anymore after that. Sometime before the age of 5, I remember being convinced that if I tried hard enough and believed in myself, I could fly. So I would practice flying, jumping down the stairs when nobody was watching. I never developed my ability to fly, but I vividly remember basically cannonballing down 14 steps and just gliding down in midair and landing at the bottom totally safe and uninjured many times over the years. I remember very vividly seeing a leprechaun in the hallway of my house. It freaked me out so bad that I woke my mom up yelling someone's in the house. We walked from room to room with kitchen knives looking for the leprechaun, but never found that shifty little bastard. When I was a little kid, I thought that the mountain ranges on the horizon on the way to Grandma and Grandpa's house were built by my Uncle Richard. I have no idea how this idea got into my head, but I remember that when I figured out that there was no way it was possible, I was pretty bummed out. My friend's dad came up to me and said he had a secret to tell me that I couldn't tell anyone else. Then he said, "I'm secretly in love with you." But that was where it ended. When I was really young, I was being babysat by a couple of teenage/college age girls that were friends with one of my older cousins. They took me to a party, laid me down in a random bedroom upstairs, and put on a random videotape that definitely wasn't Barney or anything else suited for children. My mom swears this never happened, but I remember it way too clearly for me to make it up. I remember being at a playground with my family and seeing lightning strike right in front of me. Didn't hear any thunder, no one else saw it, but I remember seeing it pretty vividly. Not sure if there's something that can go on in your brain that would cause something like that to happen, but I remember pleading with my mom to believe that I had just seen a lightning bolt strike right in front of me and she just ignored me. The whole neighborhood thought I was kidnapped. I don't really know why and what the actual fuck is the thought process of how they think that happened, but apparently the people are frantically searching me. What I remembered is that my elder cousin and her husband took me to an internet cafe to let me watch them pick their wedding outfits. When we returned, everyone was shocked. My brother smiles because he knew I was in trouble. My mom was crying and my dad slapped the shit out of me. It was so surreal. I used to have nightmares. My dad put up a poster of Peter Pan in my room and told me that when I went to sleep, Peter would fly out of the poster and chase all of the monsters away. I never had another bad dream. I saw the original Jurassic Park when it was in theaters in the summer of 1993. I was 7 years old. During the scene at the end, where the velociraptors are about to get Alan Grant and co., I very clearly remember the T-Rex suddenly bursting through the wall of the visitor center before it grabs the first raptor in its jaws. The wall was made out of a grayish white material, concrete or plaster. Back in those years you had to wait a long time for movies to come out on VHS. But when it finally did, and my parents brought it home, I couldn't wait to watch it. I remember being confused at the end, because I was waiting in that tense raptor scene for the T-Rex to come bursting through the wall, but instead it was just suddenly there, grabbing the raptor, as we can all see in the film. I thought that it didn't seem to make much sense now, because how did the T-Rex get in the building all of a sudden seemingly without anyone noticing? I suppose I put it out of my mind, and always just figured that it was either my imagination, or that the scene of the T-Rex crashing through the wall appeared only in the theatrical version, and was removed for the home video. But then recently I decided to Google about that scene, and was shocked to discover, at last, that there were others that remembered this scene as well. Rumors persist that the theatrical version of Jurassic Park included a scene towards the end of the film where the Tyrannosaurus actually smashes through a plaster wall in the visitor center. This scene was not included in the DVD or VHS release of the film, and no evidence other than first-person accounts has been found for this scene's existence. Steve Spaz Williams in his Vimeo channel said no such scene ever existed. Spaz cannot be said of towing the official line as he is no longer with Isle or even in mainstream Hollywood for the matter of fact. So, it may be assumed that he is telling the truth. Here is the link to his comment. In other words, Steve Williams, who built the T-Rex used in Jurassic Park and worked on the other dinosaur effects, has stated that there is no such scene. Here's his response in the comment section of the above Vimeo link when asked if there was a scene where the T-Rex broke into the visitor center at the end. Steve Spaz Williams: "We never did a shot where we saw the Rex enter the rotunda area. It was Spielberg who actually added that sequence cause he was so happy with how all the other shots were preceding Steve Price, who dies during Jumanji, animated that final shot. TLDR, when I saw Jurassic Park in the cinema I remember the T-Rex burst through the wall at the end to get the raptors. Others remember this scene too. No such scene exists on home video versions, and in fact, appears never to have existed at all. Make sure to like and subscribe. Here are some more videos.